So I just missed National Superhero Day. If it wasn't for my procrastination, I would have put this review up on National Superhero Day. God damn it. This is my review for X-Men, which came out in the year 2000. And is directed by Bryan Singer, stars Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry, Paquin, and many others. In anticipation for X-Men Apocalypse, which is coming out near the end of May, I'm going to be reviewing all of the X-Men movies that I have not reviewed yet. I've talked about X-Men Days of Future Past, I've talked about The Wolverine, and I've talked about X-Men Origins Wolverine, so it's time to cover the ones that I haven't talked about yet. And we're starting with the one that started it all. X-Men opens up with a young girl named Rogue, who's played by Paquin, who discovers that she has some mutant ability. She runs away and arrives in Canada, where she comes across another mutant named Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman. The two of them find themselves at Xavier's School for the Gifted, which is basically like a boarding school for mutants, where they can be safe and learn how to hone their powers. Kind of like Hogwarts in a way. The world hates mutants, they're disgusted by them, and there's a senator out there who's basically trying to have mutants come forward and expose themselves so that the world knows that they are mutants. But one mutant in particular, named Magneto, is not pleased with this, so he's trying to come up with a device that'll turn humans into mutants, and Wolverine and the other X-Men have to stop him. Now, when I say that this movie started it all, I mean that not just for the franchise, but basically for the genre as a whole. X-Men I consider to be the very first modern superhero movie. We have superhero movies that have broke ground, like Iron Man, the Avengers, and the Dark Knight, but X-Men was the first one that really came out and showed you can make much more serious superhero movies that can deliver on more substance rather than just, here's a bunch of cool action, punching bad guys and whatnot, like the Superman and Batman movies before have done. This is also an impressive film considering that Batman and Robin basically killed the entire superhero genre. Nobody wanted to see another superhero movie, and this came around and basically breathed new life into it. X-Men was a well-known property that got its movie made, and people responded well to it. And watching it again, it is a really good movie. While not the best X-Men movie, and I'll get into reasons for that a little later, it's still very well done. And one thing that makes this really good, especially given what happened before with Batman and Robin, is the fact that it's a superhero movie about something. The X-Men have always tackled the issues of xenophobia, homophobia, and racism metaphorically, because regular humans are afraid or disgusted by them. And one of the very first scenes of the movie is of a Senate hearing where Jean Grey is trying to convince the government that mutants are harmless, we can all live in peace, there's nothing to be afraid of. And she's basically going up against a senator who thinks mutants are a threat, and he wants to basically ID mutants so he can monitor them, similar to how Adolf Hitler wanted to ID Jews, or how Donald Trump wants to ID Muslims. It's a great scene because, again, it shows that, hey, you can have these superhero movies and have them tackle real-life subjects, like social commentary that still, to this day, is relevant. It's also got a really great cast. I don't really need to go into Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because I've talked about him several times in my reviews for The Wolverine, X-Men Origins, and Days of Future Past. So I'll just leave it at this. He's phenomenal. He's perfect for the role, similar to how Robert Downey Jr. is perfect for Tony Stark. And he just delivers. And then you have Sir Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier and Sir Ian McKellen as Magneto. They're great. And what I love about Magneto particularly is that he's a villain with motivations that you can understand. You see that in his teen years, he was basically a Holocaust victim and was tortured by the Nazis mainly because he was a mutant. We'll get more into that with a later review. But that gives you a clear motivation on why he hates humans. And you're like, okay, I don't really approve of what you're doing, Magneto, but I can kind of meet you right in the middle. If you just stop killing humans, then I could probably be on your side. And then you have Charles Xavier, who's the other side of the coin that goes, we can live in peace with the humans. This one senator who wants to ID us all, he does not represent all of mankind. We can live in peace. Just like Magneto, you shouldn't be the one who represents all mutants because you're giving us a bad name. Then you have James Marsden as Scott Summers, aka Cyclops. He's really good. Even though Cyclops has been one of my least favorite X-Men, he does a good job here. And then you have, I can never figure out how to pronounce her name, Famke Janssen as Jean Grey. She's really good also. I mean, most of the cast is really good, but there are a few weak points. For one, while I won't say Anna Paquin is bad, she's not at all what I imagined Rogue to be. Usually when I think of Rogue, I find her to be a little more upbeat, but here, Anna Paquin's performance is just a little, muddled. She's timid a lot of the time, but this is the first movie, so given the circumstances of the story, it's kind of acceptable. I mean, I'll wait and see what I think of her in X2 because I haven't seen that movie in a while. One other problem I had with her is that it seemed like her southern accent for the character was going in and out a lot, which it's weird. It makes her performance very inconsistent and reminds me of when Carrie Fisher tried to do a British accent in Star Wars and then just kind of dropped it all together once Alderaan was destroyed. But Anna Paquin, not really bad, but not one of the best actors in the movie. Who is bad, however, is Halle Berry as Storm, which, look, I'm not going to defend this performance at all. There's nothing really good about it. I mean, the best I could say is that Halle Berry looks like the character, but given that you have a really good director like Bryan Singer and a really talented actress like Halle Berry, you got to ask yourself, what the hell happened? How did this performance become so bad? And, of course, I can't go without mentioning the infamous line about toads. You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? Same thing that happens to everything else. When I saw that clip, I was thinking to myself, what the hell did that mean? I think, was there supposed to be a joke somewhere there? And then I listened to other podcasts and did some research on that line. And apparently Joss Whedon wrote it, and apparently he wrote in bold how to say it, but either Bryan Singer didn't direct that part very well, or Halle Berry just refused to say the line the way Whedon intended, but it's just a mystery. It's like one of the weirdest things in comic book movies that leaves you dumbfounded. Although there is a funny line that Whedon wrote that made it into the final film, which I gotta elaborate that Whedon was not a writer on this movie. He was brought in to do punch up. And the line that I really love is between Wolverine and Cyclops right after an action scene involving Mystique. Hey, it's me. Prove it. You're a dick. Okay? That gets me every time, and I didn't even initially know it was a line by Whedon until I did that research on the Toad line, and yeah, it's a good line. And the last criticism I'll give is that there are some terrible special effects in this movie. I mean, really, to be honest, the X-Men movies up until Days of Future Past have never really excelled in special effects. And I can understand that it was the year 2000. Special effects are not the way they are today. But there are just some horrifying effects because of how bad they look, or outdated. I guess outdated is the correct term. For example, there's the scene when the senator basically gets turned into a mutant. And his face is gooey and it tries to go through a jail bar. And it's scary. I'm legitimately serious when I say this thing scared the fuck out of me because it looks so outdated. And then there's a special effects shot that had me laughing hard. It's a scene when Wolverine steals Cyclops' motorcycle and he, hits the accelerator and suddenly the camera does this weird Sam Raimi Evil Dead style. All that scene is missing is the Benny Hill music and comedy gold right there. But I don't know, it's still a funny moment regardless. Not probably what they intended, but at least I got some joy out of that one shot. But I'll wrap things up. X-Men is a really good movie. For being the first modern superhero movie, or at least that's how I've referred to it as, it's well paced, it's got fun action scenes, the cast is really good, though there are a few weak performances, and I love how it's a superhero movie about something. It tackles a subject matter that previous movies just couldn't do before. So X-Men is good, but it's not a great movie in my opinion. It's very well made, and an entertaining one at that, but it is admittedly overshadowed by some of its sequels, which we'll get to soon. And that's my review for X-Men. I hope you enjoyed this review. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about the movie, if and when you've seen it. Like, comment, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, Periscope, and Rift.tv. Check back next week for my review of X2, X-Men United. And this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you, there is only one.